3 agents came to my house and told me that Frank Salembi was trying to kill me. They would say, hey, come with us, we'll help you. I just kind of laughed it off and walked away. This guy was, hypothetically involved with the Irish gang wars and was, one of the top guys in it, from what I read. And he probably was somebody you didn't want to take lightly. And they instigated the whole thing. I was found not proven beyond a reasonable doubt of the June 1689 Salembi attempted murder. But at sentencing, I got 25-year enhancement for conduct the jury found me not proven. And sometimes the feds, if they don't like you, if you don't get along with a certain gang, they'll put you in the block with them. When the government wants to cut their pay, they know how to mix it up. What they'll do is they'll mix up the gangs that don't get along, generate violence, and go back to Congress and say, we told you they were dangerous.
You got a moment when they see you down, just know they love it.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Bounce Back Podcast. I'm your host, B. Luke. I got a special guest with me today, so why don't you tell the people your name, where you're from, and a little bit about yourself.
Vincent Michael Marino from Revere, born in Boston. I lived in East Boston, lived in Revere, and I lived in the North End. I just finished doing 28 years in prison. I was in prison since 1996. I got out August 13th of this year. I'm working on a book that's called The Patriarchal Purge, which we're planning on making into a Boston.He miniseries, which is like around 8 episodes, based on intrigue, government corruption, the judicial system, the street life to some extent. Most of it's true story, based on a true story. And we also have a screenplay we put together called Pressed, which is sending a good message to society about how they're pressing pills and, people dying from fentanyl, stuff like that.
Why did you want to get involved with these kind of things?
Well, to send a good message to society to, correct the incorrections and the unconstitutionality of basically the judicial system and basically what's going on in the streets.
So you've maintained your innocence since day one. You were still tried and convicted.
Right.
And you still maintain your innocence. Why don't you just at least talk about what these allegations were? Okay.
I was charged with RICO conspiracy to murder. RICO stands for Racketeering, Influence, Corruption, Organization Act. They charged us with trying to overthrow the New England mob, but it was basically, they just window dressed it, basically. Guys were just defending themselves on the street. I was found not proven beyond a reasonable doubt of the June 1689 Salembi attempted murder. But at sentencing, I got 25-year enhancement for conduct the jury found me not proven. And now with Amendment 1 that came out in U.S. Sentencing Guidelines says that was incorrect. They weren't supposed to do that. Not just with my case, but there's a lot of people in prison now for charges they weren't convicted of by a jury and doing life sentences, 25 extra years, 10 extra years, 5 extra years, which is really unconstitutional.
Wow. Why don't you just explain for the people who may not know what you mean by like an enhancement?
Let's say you get convicted of a specific charge at trial. The judge will give you a specific time for it. Let's say conspiracy to murder is maximum 10 years. But you were charged with an attempted murder or a murder, but you were found not guilty or not proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Judges were taken upon themselves to enhance your sentence substantially, whether it be 5 years, 10 years, 25 years, or life, which is really unconstitutional.
And why would the FBI target you?
What they were doing was they were grooming informants in Boston, and these were serial killer informants, and they were making them, they called top echelon informant program. Congress did an investigation, but the Republican Democrats bipartisan investigation, in which Bush Jr. tried to block, and Congress got together and we're going to move to impeach him to block this investigation. And it was called Everything Secret Degenerates, the FBI Department of Justice Use of Murders as Informants. And that's the title of the investigation. And what they discovered was that there was 3 categories they have to meet before they become this top echelon informant. 1, they had to be a professional accomplished serial killer. 2, they had to been able to been a high-ranking member of a criminal organization or a cartel. And 3, they'd have to be able to disseminate that information to the FBI and Department of Justice. This was a super secret program. So when Congress fought the Department of Justice trying to get these documents, the Department of Justice went head-to-head with them and was blocking and redacting them. So what happened, what I did was I opened up a freedom of information lawsuit to pick up the pieces Congress left on the floor that they didn't get the answers to. Because they kept redacting a lot of stuff, and it was called Marino versus Department of Justice. I went all the way in front of a 10-judge panel. And one of the judges was Garland, who was the Chief Justice, who was now the Attorney General under the Biden administration. And McFarland, am I saying it right?
McFarland.
I'm trying to remember exactly his name, but he became a Supreme Court Justice after.
Wow.
Right.
So it seems like they care a little bit more about convictions than actually like people's lives. It's kind of messed up in a way if you think about it.
The government routinely withholds evidence that's called exculpatory or impeachment evidence. Exculpatory means helps you.
Right.
And they play hide-go seek with it. So it's almost impossible to get a fair trial when they're holding evidence that supports you or your innocence.
Yeah.
And they do that a lot.
And they call that justice in the justice system, but I like to call it the conviction system because that's all they really care about. There's really no true incentive for actual justice, especially when it comes to getting people off. They just care about that.
Right. Perfect example. Look what they did to Trump. They weaponized the judicial system and came at him, to prevent him from becoming the next president of the United States.
And I feel like they did all that too, just for the PR about it, and they just want to constantly just refer to him as a convicted felon just for the sake of it. But it just shows what people really think about convicted felons.
Right. Now think about it. If they can do that to Trump, they can do it to anybody.
Oh yeah, that guy's got tons of money. I mean, what's your average Joe whose mom's on welfare? You stand no chance. Like if they want you, they're gonna get you, fair or not.
Right.
Doing all the amount of time that you did, what would you say is like the worst part about prison and being locked up?
Well, if you go by Pacific rules, you should be able to ride smooth in prison. Don't owe nobody. Don't let them owe you. You have to have good paperwork and mind your business. If you go by them 4 prongs, you usually can ride smooth. Not, it's a dangerous place.
Around this time that you got this case, right, these allegations, this was a real corrupt city as far as the Boston FBI, correct? There were some notable guys like John Conley.
Whitey Bulger.
Are these people that you encountered?
I encountered them. I have encountered them. How they worked it in Boston, like I was telling you about the top echelon informant program that was started by J. Edgar Hoover, they implemented this program and they had people called the top echelon informants. They were protecting them for criminal activity while they were committing crimes, as long as they was giving them information, whether it was true or false.
Wow. When you said you were filing these appeals and these motions, this was all from behind the wall?
Yes, and my judge, my Pacific judge, was just rubber stamping all of it. He was a 33-degree Mason, multi-billionaire, and he wasn't even reading the motions, just rubber stamping them. Denied, denied, denied. You know what I'm saying? No matter what kind of meritorious issue I had.
Okay, so I'm going to rewind it a little bit, man, and bring it back. So tell me what it was like growing up in Revere, Massachusetts during that time.
I lived in the Rose Street projects. We used to play sports every day. Football, baseball, basketball, hockey. And it was great. I mean, we had a good time. You know?
And Revere is known to be, at least back then, a real Italian neighborhood.
Right,
correct?
Italian, Irish, Jewish, yeah, basically.
Did you spend a lot of time at the beach? Or is that
Yeah, the beach is not too far for us.
first public beach in the country, I believe.
In the United States of America, absolutely.
Yeah. Why don't you talk a little bit about what the home dynamic was like? Did you have both parents, siblings?
Well, my father died 2 months before I was born, my biological father, so my mother remarried 2 years later. He was a pretty good father. You know, he was pretty strict, but, you know, he protected the family and he provided for the family.
Did you have any siblings?
I had a biological brother by my father and my mother, and then I had 3 other brothers and sisters, which I consider my true brothers and sisters.
Your stepfather, is that he would be considered, right? He was a positive influence in your life?
I believe he was. I mean, he was strict. It was called tough love.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He was a hard-working longshoreman, but he liked to drink hard, too.
Yeah.
So.
Do you think that's important to have strong male figures in a young boy's life, and why?
I think it is.
Why do you think that is?
Because you need that father figure. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The mother can't fit them shoes.
I feel like
they can try.
They can only do so much. You know
they can only, and you can't blame the mother. They can only do so much.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about what you were like as a student growing up, right?
Highly into sports. High school, ski club 1, 2, 3, and 4. Football 1, 2, 3, and 4. Indoor track 1, 2, 3, and 4. I was class rep, member of the student council. Was king of the prom. I mean, I had a basic. Normal high school.
Did you get in any trouble during your school years?
Actually, you get in a few fights, but other than that, I was pretty much not in trouble.
So, you graduated high school?
Revere High, 1980.
What was the next move after that?
Believe it or not, as crazy as it might sound, I was a member of a boxing club. So I was driving down Broadway, Revere, and my friend was hitchhiking. So I said, "You need a ride?" He says, "Yeah, I need a ride to Boston State College." I said, "So what are you going to do there? He goes, I'm going to take the state civil service exam. I said, jump in, I'll give you a ride. So we get there, he's trying to con me to take this exam with him. So he ends up conning me to take the exam. So I take the exam. I found out it was a Massachusetts State Police exam.
Oh, geez.
I got like an 86 or an 88 on the exam. He flunked it. So they called me in to, go through like it's the basics, like the agility test and all that stuff, and I passed it fluently. And then they said to me, listen, it's Proposition 2.5. We can't hire you because guys with 65, score of a 65 compared to your 86 or 88, we have to hire before you because it was called Proposition 2.5. They had to hire blacks and minorities before, Spanish people, before somebody that's more qualified.
And was this something that you were very interested in doing at the time?
Actually, I was at the basically back in 1980.
Okay, what was it about that appealed to? Just the
basically,
the good money, the benefits?
Benefits and, to make society more of a humane society type of thing. So
then you don't get in, is that what
I
happened?
don't get in, no.
Okay, so what do you end up doing for work, or do you think about going to school?
I actually worked since I was 13 years old washing dishes at Durgan Park, so I always worked.
Okay. Is that what you kept doing after high school?
Yeah, I kept working. Doing all different types of jobs.
All different. So what other things did you do?
I worked at a nightclub as a bouncer. I pumped gas. I worked as a laborer. I worked at a deli department. I've done a lot of different things.
And where do you think you picked up this work ethic from at such a young age?
My stepfather and my family, always working hard.
Why is that important to have a job?
You work hard, and then you can get things you want. If you don't work hard, you're going to get things you don't want. You're not going to get anything.
So how long after high school is it that you start getting in trouble with the law? Is it a long time?
Probably 3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years?
Right.
And was this big case, or did you...
It was like minor stuff. Stolen car, nothing big.
Nothing big. Did you end up having to do any time for any of that stuff?
I ended up doing time, believe it or not, for receiving stolen property. I did.
What was the story behind it? How did they... Oh, New Hampshire, okay.
Yeah, it was New Hampshire State Prison. So it was my first bid. I did 1.5 years or something like that.
I mean, did you expect to do it a year and a half?
No, I didn't. But everything, to me, it was like working out every day, that type of thing,
So what was that like? What was that first experience like for you? Did you try to use it in a positive way, get your mind right?
Of course, I did. A lot of reading, try to further my education, things like that.
So getting close to your release from New Hampshire State Prison, did you start developing a plan upon your release?
Right. I actually opened up a restaurant and done, positive things like that.
Okay, so talk about what are some of the troubles you may encounter running a business like that?
In the legitimate world, there's problems. You know what I mean? You have to meet certain criterias and certain rules and regulations. It's not that easy. You know what I'm saying?
And how long did you run this business for?
Probably like 10 years.
So what advice would you give to somebody that wants to be an entrepreneur, maybe open up a restaurant?
Right. Always think positive. The laws of the universe, put out positive energy, you get positive energy back.
Yeah, absolutely. I always like to say is I've never seen really any positive results come from negative thinking.
Exactly.
I don't think there's, the math doesn't math like that. And so what are you doing in between the years until after high school, until you get caught up by the feds?
Basically working the restaurant.
Just working the restaurant?
Right.
I mean, what are you doing for fun, man? What did you like to do for fun on the weekends?
Sports, pretty much.
So talk a little bit about the boxing. Like, how long were you doing that?
Actually, I used to go to Somerville Boxing Club. I was like 18, 19 years old. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I went there.
Oh, did you?
Stoney was over there.
Right, okay, so you remember him. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Where you from?
I'm from Cambridge.
Okay, so yes, Cambridge, Somerville, right next door.
Yep, absolutely.
You're right.
Somerville Boxing Club, legendary boxing club.
Right.
I know
Bobby Gavino was there, Hoyley, and...
yeah, he trained, what's his name, too? Johnny Ruiz.
Right.
Heavyweight champion.
Right, first Puerto Rican heavyweight champion. God bless him. Absolutely.
Chelsea, Massachusetts.
Yeah, a lot of credit to him.
Talk about how do you get caught by the feds? How do they arrest you? Is this something that you one day randomly you get
instigated the whole thing? 3 agents came to my house and told me that Frank Salembi was trying to kill me. They would say, hey, come with us, we'll help you. I just kind of laughed it off and walked away. You know what I'm saying? This guy was, hypothetically involved with the Irish gang wars and was, one of the top guys in it. So, from what I read, and he probably was somebody you didn't want to take, lightly. And then they went to my friend's lawyer and told him he was trying to kill him. and they instigated the whole thing.
So you might have laughed it off to them, but like, what's going through your mind?
I'm thinking, well, shit, they're telling me there's certain
really
guys trying to kill me. I mean, this guy's a bomb expert and who knows whatever else.
And for the people who may not know, who is Frank Salemi?
This guy was, hypothetically involved with the Irish gang wars and was, one of the top guys in it. So, from what I read, and he probably was somebody you didn't want to take, lightly.
Yeah. Why, in your opinion, would the feds want to like stir something up like that?
They had a political thing going on with Whitey Bulger and Stephen Redfern Flemmy, who were informants, but were also serial killers. So they wanted to cover up what they were doing with them. And when Salemi came out of the prison, they wanted to instigate violence towards him so he wouldn't discover what they were doing. So they instigated it.
And so after they tell you this, how long in between them telling you this until they come and arrest you? And
we wasn't arrested until April. The indictment was April of '97, but I got arrested in '96 on a East Coast West Coast sting, Vegas and Arizona. But a couple months later, then we got hit with the RICO indictment.
How does that work? They lock you up. It's a federal case. You're in Massachusetts. Like what? Where do you like sit trial, or do you make bail on that?
Well, no, they don't give you bail in the feds most of the time. You end up in the wide detention or Plymouth. I ended up in the wide detention in Rhode Island.
Okay, and then you sit there and wait trial?
You wait trial.
And in the feds, how long is it to wait trial? It takes a
Shit,
while.
I fought 2 RICO trials back to back, 98, 99. It was like over a 3-year, 10-month span before I got convicted.
When you go to court for these trials, do they at least bring you somewhere local, or are they taking you
They're taking you back and forth. It's a lot of stress.
So why don't you tell people who may not know what a day in court is like, coming from Wyatt to in?
It's very stressful because they're bringing you back and forth in a vehicle. You know what I'm saying? And you have to develop your defense. Your defense is much more stronger if you're on the street fighting it than if you're in prison. You have too many restrictions.
And it makes for a long day, though. What time do they come and wake you up
They
for
wake
court?
you up probably 4 or 5 in the morning.
And then how long's the drive to?
Right. It's pretty much hurry up and wait. Then everything's wait, and then they drive you. Once they drive you, it's probably a couple hours.
And they stop in every which friggin' stop on the way. Wait, you talk, talking to their buddies, and it's just it's uncomfortable sitting in those places.
Yeah,
in those
certainly is
cramped up little tuna cans, and so.
Yeah.
So what is it like when you're facing trial with such serious charges? Like what's going through your mind? Like what's your confidence level? Like you got.
I mean, I always try to think positive. I was facing like 150 years. The government witnesses, they just went on the stand and just had immunity to tell any type of story they wanted to, whether it was true or false. And they got away with it.
And so you beat two cases waiting trial there? Is that what happened? And
in '98, I was acquitted of a machine gun, silence bomb, structure device, and hand grenade. Not guilty. The rest were hung jury. And then we went to trial again. I beat the attempted murder. The only thing I really got convicted was conspiracy to murder. And conspiracy is an inchoate crime, meaning no overt act is required to be convicted. Therefore, it's not a violent crime. And you have McCullum out of the Fourth Circuit, 2018 case. You have Crionis versus the U.S. Attorney General out of the Third Circuit, 2019 case that clearly says it.
In this whole time, you don't see the streets at all?
No.
Okay. So
not at all.
So how long are you in Wyatt till eventually you go to the trial that, you lose? Whatever you want to call it, right?
We went to 2 trials back to back because we got the acquittals with the hung jury counts, and I had a second trial in '99.
So how does it work with a hung jury, right? You go, they say it's hung, and then you're still in jail, though, right?
You're still in jail. You don't get bail, and you're still fighting the case.
I mean, how do you feel about that whole, I guess, law or that logic behind that?
I believe it's very vindictive and. It's an uphill fight. You should be able to have the same playing field of fighting your opponent.
I mean, at least after a hung jury, give you a bail or something.
Exactly.
You hit the street and
and they didn't do that.
How long is a trial when you're fighting the feds in these types of
charges?
Well,
we had in a 6-month span trial. They spent over $2 million, and the second trial was within a 3.5-month span of trial days.
So you say how many people are involved with this kind of?
We had 15 co-defendants.
15
total of us. Total of us. There was 15 of us.
Everybody kept their mouth shut out of these 15?
No, there was one went on the run. Let's see, 1, 2, 3 flipped. So we ended up going to trial. I'm trying to do the math here, but we ended up going to trial with minus them.
3 people flipping on you like that. Are these people who were allegedly friends of yours? Do you feel like some sort of betrayal?
I'll give you a quick example. Mark Spizak testified against me, saying I sold him drugs. My lawyer's asking him the question, said, look the jury in the eye, tell him, the jury on the times, the dates, and the locations that, my client sold you these drugs. Well, he gave specific dates, streets, times, locations back in '89. So I elbowed my lawyer in the middle of the trial, and I said, listen, I was in prison them years. So he got away with that lie. They did a recess. My lawyer says, we don't want the government talking to him. The judge says they can do whatever they want. And they told him, listen, you got caught with perjury. Understand? They never charged him. So and eventually, in the second trial, he changes the dates, and I get convicted.
So why do you think that is that they don't charge him with this perjury? Because I would think part of the deal is they got to
be truthful,
tell the truth, right?
But they don't really care. Their goal is just to get in conviction.
And that's what
it's not about right or wrong.
That's what you think the main reason why they didn't.
It's not about right or wrong. It's about a conviction.
When the what is it? The jury comes back with a deliberation.
Right.
Okay,
correct.
So what is it, 12 people on a jury?
12 people.
They come back. Now this time, what is the finding?
They found me not proven beyond a reasonable doubt for predicate racketeering act A2 on RICO and RICO conspiracy of the June 16, '89 solemn attempted murder. But the judge at my sentencing says, well, the jury didn't convict you of it. He took the power away from the jury, which the judge should have no authority to do, because the jury has the final say. And he enhanced my sentence an extra 25 years.
Do you think that it was personal with the judge as well? Or?
I think so.
Okay.
I definitely think so.
So when you say was proven not beyond a reasonable doubt, is that just
that's
the
like
federal
like a
lingo
not guilty? Yeah,
okay.
It's another lingo.
Okay, I just never heard it stated like that. That's
right,
why
not proven beyond a reasonable doubt.
Okay, so now you do get convicted. I'm sure what's going through your mind, like.
When I left the courtroom, the judge says, I just want you to know for the record that your parole officer wasn't born yet. I thought it was pretty funny.
Wow. So how does it work as far as appeals in the federal court? Like how long does it take?
They pretty much rubber stamp everything. They really don't go by the rules.
So solidified pretty much. How old are you at this point, just for
when I first got arrested in '96, I was 35.
You're 35.
Right,
okay,
I'm 63
you're
now.
almost 40 at this time when you
right,
get
I'm 63 right now.
Okay, you're at Wyatt, you leave the federal courthouse. Where's the next stop? And how does that work?
Well, then you get graduated into the federal system. I went to Atlanta Penn at the time.
Okay.
And then you go from there.
Describe what you mean by a Atlanta Penn. That's
okay.
like maximum security?
That's like maximum security. They're called USP, United States Penitentiaries.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And that's, when they put you in that type of environment, it's pretty much, you got to be on your P's and Q's.
So how does it work when you get there? Is it like Boston guys know you're coming?
Right. Everything's jurisdictional.
Okay.
Boston's a very strong car, and that's what they call them, cars. Everybody looks at everybody's paperwork to make sure everybody's good. They don't want no sex offenders. They don't want no rats. And that's the way it is.
Why don't you just describe the Atlanta? What is it? Is it called USP Atlanta?
You're right.
Was it?
USP Atlanta.
It closed, or
it's been open. It's been open since 1903. It's the second oldest penitentiary in the country.
I think it's one of the
Leavenworth was like 1890. They had like Geronimo there and Al Capone and everybody else.
I guess explain to me what it's like there. Is it like bars? Like
Atlanta had,
cells?
of course, they renovated throughout the years.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But yeah, they were the bars. You still have the bars like in the hole. They call SHU.
Okay.
Special housing unit.
Do you see like some sort of classification to get sent
Usually
there?
They put you in the hole first.
Okay.
And then you get like a captain's review.
Okay.
And you go in front of the captain, and he basically tells you, listen, I don't care what you do to any inmate, as long as you don't hurt any of my guards.
Right.
Basically that type of speech.
How long do you stay there? How does it work? Do you see like a chance to see, like, I know in state out here you see the classification board on like every year they review, maybe they send
they call it a team. There's a unit manager, a case manager, and a counselor, and they usually review your conduct and everything.
And that's yearly kind of deal?
It's usually every 6 months.
Okay.
Every 6 months. Then you have your yearly one.
And how long did you stay in Atlanta for?
I was a couple of years.
So what are some things you do with your time there? Like, how does it work with a USP? Do you get like a big yard? You play softball?
Big yard. I worked out. I walked. I ran. Played handball.
So you had mentioned the not owing and don't have anybody owe you. Why don't you break that a little bit down
think
more
about
for people
it.
who
If
may
you go
not
to
know?
prison, you owe somebody. Some people don't have any money in prison. If you owe them, they take it real personal. You know what I mean? So don't try to owe nobody. At the same time, you don't want nobody to owe you. You want good paperwork. If you don't have good paperwork, you're going to have a problem.
Because if you got somebody owing you and they don't pay you,
and vice versa, it's a problem.
Yeah.
So if you go by those basic rules, and of course the fourth one, mind your business. Some people don't. They go by the first three rules, but they're in everybody's business.
Yeah.
They're like little old ladies. Like,
how many people in there do mind their business, and is there like
There's always problems. Usually over them first 4.
How's it work for like the TVs and everything over there?
It's usually a white TV, a black TV, Spanish TV type of thing.
Was it always getting locked down?
Right now, I mean, I came from Coleman 1 in Florida. For a federal prison, it had good food.
Okay.
But it was a lot of lockdown.
Same thing in Atlanta? Was it locked down
Atlanta
all the time?
was a lot of lockdown. A lot of penitentiaries was a lot of violence, a lot of lockdown.
You get a cellmate in there and everything?
Yes, you have a cellmate.
How does the cellmate assignment work? Do you just get put in
Usually,
randomly,
they usually put white with white, black with black, Spanish with Spanish.
They don't try to put like regionally?
What is that?
Regionally? Like, will they put a
No,
white guy
they won't
from
go
the
out of their
East
way.
Coast with
They won't go out of their way to do that.
Okay.
Usually try to work your way to that.
Break down for the people who may not know what you mean by like car in the Boston car.
Right. You have Boston, you have New York, different jurisdictional.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Now, what about these other white gangs? Are they involved as well?
They're
too,
they're usually
separate?
Friendly, but they have their own thing.
So it's separate, but
together.
So if something
They have to run their politics. We run our politics.
If something big racially pops off,
Usually, everybody tries to get together. The leaders of every car to get together to prevent that.
Because nobody wants to do all that lockdown time.
Right, but then there's a lot of staff assault too, and that's a problem because then they take it all. The funny thing is, they take the guy that did the staff assault out of the prison,
and then
they blame everybody else.
They lock everybody else.
And everybody else down a month, 2 months, and it's not fair.
Yeah,
because they had nothing to do with it.
At what point do you realize how real of a environment? You said there's a lot of violence and stuff like that. At what point do you realize where you're at?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, that's what I said. If you go to buy them four rules that I said, usually avoid that.
Yeah.
You know
but you walk in, do you feel like it's an old place? Do you feel the tension in the area, or is it not?
Because I know how to do time right, so I don't feel it. I mean, there's tension, but I'm not involved with the bullshit.
How important is it to have like that positive mindset that you're always speaking about,
it's very
especially
important.
in such a negative place?
It's very important.
Why is it important?
Because if you put out positive energy, you're going to get positive energy back. If you put out negative energy, you're definitely going to get it back.
And the negative energy in a U.S. penitentiary is probably not the best thing you want.
It's not the best thing you want.
Some people go in there and they don't make it out alive.
A lot of people.
I mean, how does that feel when you hear about somebody, you know what I mean, not making it out? Maybe they have a soon out date. It's got to be sad.
Usually it has to do with them four things I spoke about.
Yeah.
It usually has to do with it. It usually has to do surrounding money, or somebody sneaks by, slips through the cracks and has bad paperwork.
Wow.
And then you have different barriers, different gangs that don't get along with each other.
Wow.
And sometimes the feds, if they don't like you, if you don't get along with certain gangs, they'll put you in the block with them, stir up violence, so they get that government money. When the government wants to cut their pay, they know how to mix it up.
Wow.
What they'll do is they'll mix up the gangs that don't get along, generate violence, and go back to Congress and say, we told you they were dangerous.
Yeah, they got to keep those penitentiaries full.
We need more money.
Yeah.
That's how they do it.
How do you eventually get to leave from USP Atlanta?
Well, you want to be able to have, obviously, good conduct. You know what I'm saying? And you want a program, take classes, take courses, try to better yourself.
Okay.
And they see that. When they see that, they usually your points drop and you go to a lower security.
What kind of programs did they offer there, and which ones did you take?
I mean, lately they've been offering some pretty good stuff. Electrician, carpentry, and stuff like that. You could actually, if you really want, you could better yourself.
Do you have like a favorite program that you did or anything?
I did a little of everything. You know what I mean?
Okay.
There was how to write a book. I mean, there was all different programs.
What about education? Do they offer college education in
They
there?
do. They offer some courses. Sometimes you have to do it on your own.
Do you think that's beneficial for people in prison?
I think it is.
And do you think they should have more of that, and why?
I think they should have more of it. Because when you come to prison, most people have nothing when they got there, and they leave with nothing. So you need to leave there with a trade.
Some people even leave with even less than nothing because, you lose family members. People,
Right. I lost a lot of family members myself.
I mean, how is it dealing with losing a family member on the inside?
I mean, it's just like anything else. You try to think of things in a positive, not a negative way.
Does it seem almost not real?
Yeah.
Who did you lose like close to you while you were locked
I mean,
up?
I lost my mother. I lost my brother. I lost my aunt. I lost my niece. A lot of good friends.
Yeah.
You know.
Now that you're out, what is it? You try to live in their memory, or you try to?
See, the best revenge is success and being healthy. That's my model.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
What's the next stop after USP Atlanta? You go to, what is it? An
I
FCI?
actually opened up another USP for them. They asked certain people to go to USP Lee. I mean, you don't have really a choice. They just send you there.
So it wasn't like a sign-up sheet?
Nah, not really. They just send you there.
So now this is a newer facility.
Newer facility.
So why do you talk about the differences as far as that? Like, are you with less people on the block?
It's different. It's a different chemistry because it's a different institution. You know what I mean? It's a whole different environment. You know what I mean? If it's a new place, you have its positive and negatives.
Where in the country is USP Lee?
Okay, that's in Virginia.
That's in Virginia.
It's actually, the where it is, it's in Virginia, but it's in the middle of Kentucky and Tennessee. The way Virginia slants a little bit.
So how long of a ride was that from Atlanta to there? I mean,
sometimes we take a plane, sometimes we take a bus.
And what would you prefer? The plane because it's quicker, or
the plane is quicker. The bus, you know, you're shackled and more torturous.
Do they do like the box shackle?
Actually, I was black boxed all the way. Black box was like this. You can't really move.
Yeah.
And they had really no reason to black box me, but they did.
So they didn't black box everybody. This is a blanket thing they do.
They black box people that either have a life sentence or have murders in the system or have assaults in the system. I had neither. They just black boxed me because I was a litigator. I was helping people get out of prison. Okay. And I got people out of prison. I couldn't get myself out, but I got a lot of people out.
So why don't you talk about when you started doing the litigation? When you
I learned through the hard way. It was basically trial and error.
Was it mainly at first because you were studying your stuff?
Yes. I was studying my stuff, and I started figuring out. It's funny because the more you learn, the more you figure out how wrong it is.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like how corrupt it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I feel like reading a lot of the language is always kind of like they use the most complicated language to say something triple negatives to just say a positive.
Right. That's how
like
they confuse you.
Yeah, exactly.
With the language, they play word gymnastics.
At what point do you start helping others, and why did you do that?
Because there's a lot. People think there's all bad people in prison. There's a lot of good people in prison. You know what I'm saying? And there's good ethics and everything. You know what I mean? There's probably a lot of ethical people in prison. So I try to help them. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like people got life sentences for conduct they weren't even convicted of a trial. You know what I'm saying?
And you actually got people out?
I got a lot of people out between the First Step Back and, all different laws that come down, Supreme Court case law, like the Taylor case or the Davis case. I got them in on cases like that.
So, I mean, how do you feel about yourself after doing something which I think would be like such a good act, man? You must feel good about yourself.
I did. I actually felt good because I got a real good friend of mine out of prison from Southie named Arthur Burgess, and he was a real, genuine, good kid. He had 22 years. I knocked 7 years off his sentence. I got him immediate release. And I got Dennis Quirk out from Charlestown, immediate release. And it was a good feeling that I got to getting them out of prison so he can be with their family. And poor Arthur had a medical problem that the BOP wouldn't fix, wouldn't correct. And he got out and tried to get, the correct medical attention. He ended up dying later, but at least he got out to see his family.
I want to touch on that a little bit, with the medical care in there. I mean,
Terrible.
how is it?
Terrible.
What are some examples that you've seen of the poor medical
I'm in the hole, they call it the shoe, in Allenwood Medium. And there was a black guy in the first cell, which is a medical cell. And he was going in for a heart condition. He was in his 60s. So he kept pressing the emergency button. You're not supposed to press that unless it's an emergency. But he had an emergency because his heart was giving him a problem. The cop went by and said, "Hey, why are you pressing the button?" He said, "Well, my heart's bringing me a problem." They said, "Well, press it again. We're going to make you." Later on that day, that night, like 2 hours later, this guy ended up falling on the floor, dying.
And nobody was held accountable for any of that?
No, that gets whitewashed.
Yeah, it's just, I want to touch on that because I just had somebody in here whose brother, they were in the facility together. His brother passed away because of something like that. He was trying to call them and they just almost ignored him, or they didn't get him the help in time, man.
Right. Or they'll give you the wrong insulin, or too much of it, not enough of it.
Yeah.
Or they'll just ignore you, not give you it. I mean, I've seen people.
So yeah, my little brother who's incarcerated right now, 16 years, he's a type 1 diabetic, and everywhere he goes, they're giving him issues. He just got sent from like Shirley Medium to the Max, so he's on canteen restrictions, so he can't buy food, and then they're not giving him the snacks.
And they're not giving him the proper food and proper medical attention.
Yeah, it's horrible. They need to just compartmentalize however you feel about the people in there or whatever. But I mean, they don't look at people as humans. But that's why I try to have these conversations, and so people know. So USP Lee, how long are you there now?
I usually don't last more than 2 years in the place because of my litigation. When they find out you're a litigator, they don't want you there.
So pretty much like
The staff.
the administration, they have it out for you almost. 'Cause
They
you're
have it
getting
out
people
for me because I was a litigator.
Okay.
I was helping people get out of prison. So why would you be mad at me for getting people home to their families?
You're messing up their job security.
That's
right?
what they look like, but they don't know there's 100,000 more people coming in.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's really not a job security threat,
Yeah.
but they look at it that way.
How does it go? How do they move you to the next place?
Oh, they just figure
kinda-
out, something, whatever to put you on.
Do they tell you, or one day they say pack it up?
The last move they did on me I swear, I was actually innocent of this one.
Wow.
The head white shark caller in Allenwood Medium was an informant, a rat. I didn't know. I never even talked to him.
Okay.
So somebody asked me to Google his name. I Googled his name. And that's it. The next day he checked in. They blamed me for checking him in. I never even talked to the guy. I went to the DHO, and I tried to bring him in as a defense witness because he was coming in saying, I don't even know the guy. They denied the witness, convicted me, took my good time, put an encumbrance on my account where I couldn't buy a bar of soap or a stamp. I couldn't write to the courts.
Wow.
I couldn't even wash myself. They put an encumbrance to block my account. I had $2,000 in my account. I couldn't spend a penny of it for 3.5 months.
Wow.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, locked in the cell.
So what do you have to do? Take bird baths out the sink?
Yeah,
and
I
stuff,
mean, it was
man?
insane.
How does it go
was
when
bad.
with the food? They starve you in there. I take it.
Food, you got to be careful too, because if you have squabbles, any arguments with the cops, they might piss in your food. You don't know.
But
you don't know what
gotta
they're
eat.
doing.
You gotta eat.
You got to eat.
Hey,
I mean, I try not to cause no problem.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just
Don't
a
start now,
litigator.
won't be none.
I'm just a litigator. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So they sent me to Coleman 1 on punishment, and my points went up.
Okay.
So when I get there, the case manager says, hey, you've been in 28 years. I'm putting you in for the first step back. I was like, yeah, all right. I figured, I'm not going to pay you much attention. I'm going to get you to a halfway house. Mm-hmm. So I just, brushed it off. Maybe they're just fucking with me or something. Okay. So, but this girl was for real. And she put me in for the first step back and got me out a year and a half early in a halfway house.
So why don't you explain that to me, what you mean by a first
Okay.
setback? There's no parole
The
in the
Second Chance Act of 2007 allows the Bureau of Prisons, without judges involved, to give you more halfway house and home detention, home confinement.
Okay.
When Trump brought in the First Step Act, remember the Second Chance Act was 2007, the First Step Act is 2018, and allowed the BOP to take upon themselves, if you program, to get out sooner. Mm-hmm. And I got that benefit.
So
and I wasn't complaining about it.
Counting your halfway house time as
Right. And I wasn't complaining about it at all. When they said, yeah, you got it. I go, really? Sign these papers. I said, wow.
Wow.
I didn't even put in for it. I used to get denied everything I put in for me anyway.
Right. The one thing you don't put in. How does it work with this shark caller guy? I thought they check paperwork and stuff like. Is it different at the FCI?
They usually do check, paperwork, make sure the guy's not a sex offender or a rat. Mm-hmm. It's just the way it is.
Okay, so what do you mean by shark caller for the people
Well,
who may not understand?
I won't say a shark caller because I never had a
lingo?
shark caller on the street,
okay.
never in prison. But
Right.
let's use a softer person. Some people use the phrase shark caller to try to make themselves important. Mm-hmm. Maybe a speaker might be a better thing.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
representative maybe.
Yeah, I'm speaking. One's speaking for the whites, one's speaking for this crew and that crew and the other crew. You know what I mean? And it's good to have them really to prevent problems because then all the speakers get together, try to resolve the problem. But like I said, it's usually over money.
Mm-hmm. And money could be from anything from gambling to
Drugs, to
or
alcohol, to
drinking.
anything.
Is
And
that
that's
something that
where
you
the
got involved
problems
with at all? No, I know you said don't owe anybody, but no alcohol, you homebrew, nothing like that. Drinking.
I don't do any of it.
I mean, is that something you see?
I was like the outcast. I didn't do any of it.
Yeah, the sober
what I mean?
Cobra.
Yeah.
I hear that. So you said you went to Coleman.
Coleman 1.
Where is that? Is that another?
It's in Florida.
Okay,
near
Florida.
Orlando. It's the biggest federal complex in the country.
Oh,
they have
wow.
2 penitentiaries. Coleman 1, Coleman 2, which is a dropout yard.
Okay.
It's a penitentiary. And then you have the medium, the low, and the camp. All in one big section, like a big, huge community.
And you said you went
Different buildings and
You went
sections.
from USP Lee to Coleman?
No, I went from, it was a whole ton of ones in
more-
between
more
that. I went
stops.
from Allenwood medium to Coleman 1 on punishment. I went on disciplinary.
You pretty much went. So you went from Allenwood?
I went from Allenwood medium, where they staff retaliated against me,
Okay.
because I was a litigator. Not because they checked the guy in. They knew I didn't check him in. Because all they had to do was review the CCTV video footages and found out this guy never even talked to him.
And why do you think they didn't want to go out their way for that? They just.
Because they were like, this guy's a litigator. He's getting people out of prison. Get him out of here.
And it was more
They
that
took it personal.
You weren't like litigating as far as like filing grievances
I
and stuff
I
like
would
that.
have
You're
left
just
that
helping.
alone.
Yeah.
It was just court stuff.
Yeah.
They took personal.
That's wild.
Yeah.
You get out from where exactly? From Coleman?
Coleman 1
Coleman 1.
in Florida.
From a pen.
Directly to the street.
Okay, so talk about like that, that adjustment going from a...
Well, the transition, I mean, I haven't had, they gave me, by the way, they gave me $49 to start my life over.
Okay.
So I had to pay $25 to the cab, and I guess with the other rest of it was for food.
Yeah. How, like, long before you get out do you know that's when you're getting out?
I didn't have too much of a notice. They did tell me, like, about a month before or something, we're trying to get you this date to the halfway house.
So that's kind of quick, right? I mean, you're
Yeah.
thinking you're getting out, what, how many years from there?
I was only like a year and a half early,
Yeah.
but because of the First Step Act and the Second Chance Act for 2007, the First Step Act 2018, I got out a year and a half early.
So you really
And I wasn't complaining.
But you had not much time to plan, it seems like.
No, not much time to plan.
Okay.
I mean, when they handed me money, it looked like Monopoly money. I was like, I was so paranoid. I was like, this is fake money. I'm going to hand it to the cabbie. It's going to be the Secret Service. I'm going to get arrested.
Right.
You know what I mean?
What?
You know,
Wow.
you think you don't know what to think.
Absolutely. So doing all that time, right? I mean, there's a lot of time to self-reflect, right? I mean, what are some things that you learned about yourself through that self-reflection?
I mean, of course, everybody makes mistakes. That's
Yeah.
why there's erasers on pencils. You know what I'm saying? Everybody makes them. You know, a lot of people that weren't in prison because they never got caught. You know?
Did you learn as well how, like, you much smarter than you had thought before
I also
you went
learned how
in?
corrupt the judicial system is, too.
That's okay.
I mean, I got a 25-year enhancement for conduct I beat at trial.
Yeah.
I was only supposed to get 10, and that was on hearsay testimony.
Wow.
So, I mean, if we went by the real rule of law, I shouldn't have been in there at all.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not one of them guys running around saying I'm perfect or nothing, but it was a corrupt case.
All this time, penitentiaries and stuff like that can have an effect on, like, mental health. And have you seen that
absolutely.
happen with people?
A ton of people. The
why do-
lockdown. It's egregious.
Yeah.
It's draconian. They're putting people in lockdown 24 hours a day and shoe for a year.
Wow.
You're not going to be the same person when you get out of that lockdown.
We're social creatures, man.
Yeah.
What about when COVID happened?
Oh, it got worse.
what
Now
was
they use that as an excuse for more lockdown.
Yeah,
and
so-
then when
so-
COVID
so
was
talk
over, they
about
kept
that.
carrying it over.
So talk about that. How much lockdown was it when COVID hit? And like,
It was
did you
insane.
get phone calls?
It was so
showers?
insane. And I didn't want to even take the vaccine. I really didn't want to. But every time I would go to an outside medical for a treatment or a test, they would move all my property out of the cell that I was comfortable in, put me in a hole for 2 or 3 weeks, and I would move to a new cell.
Wow.
They were retaliating against me because I wouldn't take the shot because I knew there was some problems with that shot.
Yeah.
People were dying over it. Finally, I took it because they kept doing it to me, and I kept losing my cell, losing my legal work, losing everything, from moving back and forth to the shoot. And staying in the hole for 2 and 3 weeks. I finally got it, which I didn't want to get it. And I got 2 of them. I didn't get the booster, but I regret it. But
Same, yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I got it.
Yeah. And I mean, how do you feel about that whole situation where they're kind of forcing you, or
I
really
didn't
not
like that. I wasn't happy with
incentivizing it as far as like everybody else too? Did a lot of people not want to take it? Was
A lot
it a
of
big deal
people,
in
about
there?
50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At any point, do people start to maybe try to act up and rebel against it?
There was
or-
some of that going on.
So what kind of things would people do? Just
I mean,
banging
once
on
they
the
do that, they
doors
come
or
in with the flash
flooding out?
grenades and the mace, and they're quick to. The staff's quick to hit back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give to somebody, man, who just came home and trying to?
Think positive.
What would you say is like the main message from your story that you want people to get out of it?
Positive, like I said, positive thinking, positive energy, laws of the universe type of thing. Good karma brings good karma back.
And when did you start to get into the laws of the universe? Is that something you read up on?
It's basically common sense, common knowledge. But yeah, there is books out called The Secret, one of them by Rhonda Rhimes, and that's a very good book. And they also have a TV segment on that. It's pretty good.
Positive mindset, friends. Is it something you always had?
I've always had it.
Since a child?
I've always had it.
It's like that childhood.
Always had that common sense too. A lot of people don't have that.
Okay, well, common sense, yeah.
Yeah, it's very uncommon.
Common sense is not so common.
Yeah,
man.
right.
Trust me, a lot of the people, the well-educated people, they have the least of it. Being right here between Harvard and MIT, I see it all the time. A lot of ignorance out there, too.
They can't tie their own shoes.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
They take up the whole freaking sidewalk, man. Come on.
Right, intellectually smart, but don't ask them to tie their shoes.
Yeah, man. So, what are some things you're looking forward to now that you have your freedom, as far as enjoying yourself in life? Do you want to travel?
I want to do all that.
Yeah.
But I have the restraints on me right now.
Okay.
But I do have that motion in on Amendment 1, which the U.S. Sentencing Commission's changed. They finally came to their wits, saying that this is unconstitutional. They enhanced somebody's sentence for conduct they weren't convicted of trial. Yeah. So I have this motion sitting since November 1st. It went retroactive. I put it in November 4th, but it's being ignored right now in front of the judge. So I'm hoping that he answers it.
And like, how long does it take to get a response on something like that?
I did an extra 25 years in prison out of the 28.
Yeah.
That was unconstitutional, was illegal. So by that being the basis of my motion, he should have ruled on it the first day I sent it there.
Now, is that something that you could get a lawsuit on or something like that?
I mean, eventually, they're going to be liable and culpable for $1 million a year because I was held 25 years over.
Yeah.
Wow. Up to $1 million a year.
Wow. Do you have like a lot of resentment towards the
I'm definitely not happy about it.
Yeah.
But I know you still have to think positive.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean?
So when you get released from the federal system, is it why don't you explain like the release and how that works? You said you had these restraints.
The restraints are, when you go in the halfway house, you have to ask permission to do everything.
So it's pretty much you're mandated to do a halfway house. Is that correct?
Well, I could have refused it, but why would I refuse it? I'd rather be out here than in there.
Well, when you refuse, you'd be on the inside, right? It's not like you can go to
Well, nowadays, if you refuse a halfway house, you'll get hit with a disciplinary report, too.
Wow. And
you would.
Whole time?
Yeah, you would. You would get something.
So everybody that gets out from the feds, they have to go to a halfway house, or do they determine that?
Most of the time, they like you to go to a halfway house and home detention, even if it's a couple of months.
Okay, and how long do you have to report to? Do you get like a PO, or what is that? How does that work? What do they call it?
No, that's when you're on probation or supervised release.
Okay.
Then you get a probation officer. Other than that, you just go by their rules.
So you're for clarification, you're not on supervised release?
Not yet.
You are?
Okay. Not yet.
So
I'm hoping my motion wins and I get my immediate release and rescind the supervised release halfway house.
So the supervised release would come after the halfway house?
It'll come after the halfway house.
Okay.
And it's 3 years that I'm on.
So what are some things that you've been up to since you've been out?
Working, right. Plumbing, and I've been working drainage, like that. And, of course, working on, screenplays, the book, Pressed, the movie, the Patriarcha Purge book and Patriarcha TV series. Patriarcha Purge TV series.
Okay, I just want a little bit about the plumbing. How long has that been something that you've been into?
I'm learning. I'm not like master plumber or nothing. I'm learning as I go. I mostly do all the labor, but I'm learning. I'm picking up a few, little traits here and there.
And why the plumbing? Was that something you're interested in? It was just
a friend of mine had a business, and it was good because you can't get out of the halfway house unless you have a job.
And how important is it to have a job?
If not, you just sit in the halfway house. You need to have one.
They won't even let you leave to try to find a job or something?
Yeah, they'll give you an hour here, an hour there.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
What kind of things have you been doing as far as your involvement with the movie Pressed with Rex? What's your role?
Rex is a gem in the rough.
Yeah.
Rex de Palma is incredible.
Right.
I mean, this guy works hard for what he has, and it's a hard-earned intelligence that he's learned. And we're sending a message with this movie called Pressed to the general public. At the same time, it's entertainment. At the same time, we're going to make a few dollars off it. He's the master. He put that one together. We're putting Patriarcha Purge together with each other. He did the Pressed, and I'm helping him with it, and he's helping me. And we plan on doing several, TV series. Like I said, Pressed is the first one. It's going to be a movie. Patriarcha Purge is going to be a mini-series. And then we're going to probably do another one called the Crypto-Terrestrial TV series. That's going to be interesting.
Okay.
That's a little difference. We're going to work on that and a few other things.
And a book as well?
A book, right. The book is going to be called The Patriarchal Purge, which is going to be the basis for the TV miniseries.
So it's the same name?
Correct.
Okay.
Right. And it's going to be like 8 episodes.
Okay, so talk about the book and writing the book. How does that work?
The book is based... Okay, they did a couple of movies already. They did The Departed.
Yeah.
They did Black Mass. It wasn't on point. This is on point.
Right.
I mean, one might have won an Academy Award or whatnot, and they're great actors. I don't take nothing away from them.
Right.
But this is on point. This is the real, true story that went on in Boston.
Not the Hollywood.
Not the bullshit. This is the true deal.
Left out.
You know what I mean? From the judicial to prosecutorial corruption to basically what went on in the streets. But nobody good is going to get hurt because either they pled guilty, was found guilty, or the guys are in witness protection or they're dead.
How does it work with like publishing and stuff like that, and editors, or how does it
Right, we're working on that right now. We're
Did you
soon
write
to
this
be
while you
published.
were in prison, or was it?
I actually wrote it within the 28 years in prison,
Okay.
and then and me and Rex are working on it right now. We're trying to further develop it,
Okay.
To perfection.
So when does that start? When does the process of the book start?
We
Pretty
should be published. I would probably say within 30 days.
But when does the idea formulate in your head to even start writing it?
Actually, just from living, the positive and negatives of being in prison for 28 years, that kind of sprung it into action.
What's your main goal with the book and the miniseries?
Basically, to send a message to the public on basically like I said, what happened to Trump, how the judicial system is really how it's being run, without any boundaries. Judges get up there and do whatever they want with no accountability. You put a complaint against them, they'll put an injunction on you. I mean, it's bad.
Yeah. Why is that important for you to touch on it and really get the message out?
Because you want things to change for the better. You know what I'm saying? You want, Congress to take note of it, and, the Sentencing Commission and the Supreme Court to see, what it really is.
Like when you say this miniseries, is it going to be like a documentary style or actors?
Kind of like a documentary type of thing.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But it's going to be interesting. People are going to love it.
Absolutely. What about it is going to be, in your opinion, the most like interesting or captivating thing?
There's going to be several captivating events in there, for sure.
Okay, and so tell me, like, how are you going to go about like promotion with the book? How does that work?
I mean, it would be places like, for example, on talk shows like your place. Prominent, well-liked talk show hosts.
And this is going to be physical book as far as is digital as well?
It's going to be everything. It's going to be ebook as well as it's going to be soft cover, hardcover.
What are you looking forward to as far as the whole process of the book? Are you looking forward to doing book signings? Are you looking forward?
I think we are going to explore a lot of that. Yes.
How important do you think it is to have like an open mind with these things?
I think it's very important because, like I said, you have a lot of hidden messages within this TV series, and as well as pressed, as well as the Patriarchal Purge, as well as the book. And it's going to educate a lot of people of things that they didn't know before.
So if you were to explain to somebody about Boston who may not know about it and know about that era of everything, how would you explain it to them?
I mean, Boston is a very prominent city. It's a lot of money. I mean, we have the best doctors, best hospitals in the world, best university, best colleges in the world. And the sports, we can't.
Yeah.
The sports are great.
Let's go Celtics.
Well, no, the Patriots are coming along. We give Drake Mays some protection and give him some receivers. He's going to light up the skies. I mean, he's going to be great.
He's looking good, man.
The Celtics are phenomenal. Red Sox, they're off and on. You know what I'm saying? The Bruins are great. You know what I'm saying? So we have really a good network of sports.
Absolutely, man. It's such a historic city. A lot of firsts. A lot of political. The Kennedys.
Great,
what I mean?
Great. Hub of the universe.
It's like it's a small city compared to other big cities.
Right, we're about 10th
size-wise, but I feel like as far as influence,
we hold our weight.
We're up there.
We hold our weight. We're
sure.
big rivals with New York.
So, all right, with this the New England, crime and everything like that. Did you get to? meet Jerry Angulo, or I saw that
I was actually
I think I watched
very
something.
friendly with him in 1987 Charles Street Jail, which was
Okay.
an ancient jail. They had like Civil War veterans in there. They had German U-boats they captured. It was a very old jail. I met him there.
Yeah.
Then I also met him in Leavenworth in 92.
Hey, what kind of guy was he?
Oh, this guy was super intelligent, smart, great guy.
Absolutely.
He was so comical. We used to walk the yard all the time. Great
Rest
guy.
in peace to him, right? He passed away a while ago.
He passed
yeah.
away, yep.
So you had mentioned Leavenworth. Now talk a little bit about like how did you end up in Leavenworth? Where
That was
from?
again, this, you know, the government was very retaliatory to me. I was only on a supervised release violation. They sent me there as punishment. They lied on the reports to get me there, but it was a good experience. It really was. The food wasn't bad either.
I mean, you've been gone. You were gone a long time.
Yeah,
a lot,
almost 3 decades.
So like, what's been like the biggest adjustment that
Wow.
you've had to
I
make?
mean,
Is it the
Boston-
technology?
Technology is great. What I noticed about Boston is the traffic is incredibly crazy.
Oh my God.
And we're paying so much taxes over there, but there are potholes everywhere.
I know.
I can't understand that.
I swear, some streets they just leave the potholes because they don't want people speeding down.
I don't know what the reason is, but they should fix them.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what
man,
I
you're
mean?
taking my tax dollars, man.
Exactly.
Put this
I
up,
mean, at
man.
least fix the roads.
Absolutely, right? Are you a parent? Do you have
Yes,
any
I have
children?
2 beautiful sons and 2 beautiful grandsons.
Oh, amazing.
Yes, yeah.
So,
Son Vinny and son Eddie, and grandson Antonio and Vincent.
so what are some like things you try to instill in them to be like good men? A lot of boys.
They're
you seem-
very good. All of them are good. They're not in trouble. Never arrested. They're all pillars of the community.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to as far as the fatherhood journey moving forward?
I mean, the
you already got
fatherhood
grandkids.
and the grandparenthood. I mean, it's beautiful. I
Yeah.
love it.
You feel like you have like a lot of time to make up for it going away, like
Yes,
as long
I
as you
do.
did,
I
especially
do.
with your sons.
Yes, I have a grandson, Vincent, who came down with cancer at 2.5 years old.
Wow,
And they
I'm
took
so
his
sorry.
kidney out, and he's such a strong soldier. I mean, he withstood all that, and he prevailed.
Wow, God bless.
Yeah, God bless him. He's 3 years old now, and he's doing really good. And I have another grandson, Antonio, and he's doing good.
Man, well,
Yeah,
I'm
And
glad.
2 different sons.
Hey, I'm glad you're out, man. I'm glad to see a good guy, solid guy come home, and really looking forward to your journey moving forward and,
Thank you.
and see where you go with everything
I
too,
appreciate
man.
it.
And I guess if you had any closing words for the audience,
Right.
some last words.
No,
or-
like
or
I said
just-
at the beginning, I'll say it again. Be positive. No matter what obstacles you face, give positive energy, and you'll
love
get
it.
it back.
I love it. And is there anything that you wanted to touch on that maybe we didn't get a chance
No,
to?
I think we covered it all.
Thanks again for coming
Thank
through.
you so much.
I appreciate you. Rex, I appreciate you. Yep.
I thank you for having me.
Okay, so why don't you tell the people your Instagram?
At Vincent.Gigi Marino.
At Vincent.Gigi
Gigi
Marino on
right.
Instagram. Make sure
and
you
I'm
follow
also
him.
on Facebook, Vinny Marino.
Vinny Marino on Facebook. Make sure you add him. And just stay tuned, man. I'm looking forward to everything coming through, man. And I know I probably said thanks 5 times, but thank you again because I really, truly do
And
appreciate
thank you
it.
for having me.
Absolutely.
Pleasure.
Guys, thank you.
All right.
The Bounce Back Podcast. It is what it is, guys. Remember, what's next is what you make it. On that note, we're out of here.
All right.
Peace.
Thank you.
Bounce back, you got a moment when they